elaborate desserts. They're super rich, like cake and cupcakes and pies and.
Yeah,
Remember
which is
when I
like,
told you-
I'm sorry, but at the end of a buffet, like I can't eat dessert because I've had 4 meals.
Yeah.
That's why they call you Jimmy Buffet.
Do you ever try to like eat as much because like, man, I paid so much money, I'm gonna get my money. I'm gonna get my value.
I used to think that way. I don't.
That's why I got into the
The
trouble I'm in
value
now.
fallacy.
It's a bad habit.
I gotta eat my weight in crab legs to make it work.
Buffet logic.
I need to be ill. I paid for this.
You gotta avoid the breads.
So the buffets
pastas.
work on the breakage principle, right? There's enough people who don't want to get in line to get the crab legs or don't like crab legs that they could offer the all you can eat crabs.
Yeah.
These aren't crab legs, they're shrimp.
And then my favorite one, really, it's not really a buffet, but like I'm gonna pronounce it wrong but like fogo de chão. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah,
Close.
yeah.
Yeah, that all Brazilian type of all you can.
Oh,
yeah, I mean
yes.
it's expensive. You're paying what $75, but the meat quality is so amazing. Like if you're into meat, it's
We did one for Serafina when she left Revision 3. We all went to one of those, and we called it meat swords because they just come to your table with a giant skewer of meat.
Yep.
What do you want cut? How many cuts? I think
it's great if you're doing like low carb. It's a great treat to.
I mean, if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, it's probably the last place you'll ever want to eat. But
Although I've been to one as a pescatarian. There's not a lot of fish, on any of the, but like it worked out. They have a.
I thought you were saying Presbyterian. I'm like, what does that have to do with it?
And I was a Presbyterian.
Presbyterian
I went to a Brazilian steakhouse. And
the Lord was happy with it.
Lamarr, would you
Yes,
be willing to read the line 3 thank you thing? The one that says thanks to everyone who supports Daily Tech News Show.
Oh, sure.
way up at the top. Yeah.
All right. Then if everyone is in agreement, if we have an accord, we'll begin the show.
I think
I
we're
have a
ready.
Camry.
Here we go. On my mark, Lamarr, 3, 2.
Thanks to everyone who supports the Daily Tech News Show directly. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, July 30th, 2018 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
And I'm Lamarr Wilson.
Well, look at that. He's a man of the world, ladies and gentlemen. Lamarr Wilson.
Yeah.
Also a man of the world is Roger Chang.
Hello, I am also a man of this
Why did
world.
I say where I was from? Because the line just says I'm Lamarr Wilson, so I just followed it.
Well, I
Do what you're told.
Sure.
Exactly.
I thought you would want to embellish it, like saying like you're from reporting from.
I'm in Los
Fire.
Angeles as well. There you go.
Well, we got some good stuff to talk about. We're going to fix the internet on today's show. About time somebody did, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
All right. Let's start with a few tech things you should know, though.
YouTube announced support for vertical videos on the desktop, something that the mobile version of YouTube already has supported. So it plays a vertical video in its natural aspect ratio without putting it in landscape in that box with the black bars along the sides. So some users have complained the video actually kind of loses quality or gets cut off by the new feature.
A joint venture of SoftBank and Yahoo Japan called PayPay is partnering with India's Paytm to launch a payment system in Japan by November. Now, the QR code-based platform will be called PayPay and integrated with Yahoo Japan's smartphone apps.
The new DJI Mavic 2 quadcopters are shown in the latest Argos catalog in the UK, though DJI itself has not officially announced them. The catalog advertisement shows Zoom and Pro variations of the foldable unmanned aerial vehicle. Both editions have 360-degree collision detection, advanced pilot assistance systems, and Active Track 2.0 with battery life of 31 minutes, according to the ad. The Pro lists a 1-inch CMOS Hasselblad camera, and the cheaper Zoom shows a 2x zoom lens.
I have the first one. It's still in a box. I'm terrible.
Yeah, it's really hard to fly it that way.
I need to work on that.
Not a drone expert, but yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit more about a milestone on the road to blockchain.
Yeah. So the Commonwealth Bank of Australia announced that it has successfully tracked a batch of 17,000 kilograms of almonds from Australia to Germany using a private blockchain built on an Ethereum network. The bank's partners could check in on the platform. Oh, excuse me, let me read that again. The bank's partners could check in on the location, temperature, humidity, and other metrics of the shipment whenever they want it in real time. So this is kind of nuts. Sorry, I that's all I had there.
Oh, because
I'm a little ignorant on this, so I don't want to sit here and act like I know what I'm talking about when I don't. I don't really understand the blockchain thing. I think it's interesting. My first thought in reading this was like, oh, couldn't they just have tracked this in any normal way? Why is it special they're using this network?
The idea is having all of this verified simply, right? Like, yes, you can absolutely like log all this and input it, etc. But using the ledger system means that you've got some verification that this is actually happening and only happening with the shipment that you're talking about. It's harder to fake. So using the blockchain to track supply chain shipments is one of the big holy grails of blockchain development because of that. Because you can't have somebody slip somebody a 20 to fudge the paperwork when you've got this community validated blockchain going on. And then stuff like checking in on temperature and whatnot is just an added feature that you can add to the data as it moves from place to place.
Yeah, I mean, going from Australia to Germany, yes, this is the shipment of almonds, but it could be a lot of different things. That's a long distance. Normally it would be, where is this package? Hopefully you can track it. But having all these other metrics, temperature and humidity and all sorts of stuff that contributes to fresh food, as we were talking about in our pre-show today, that's really cool.
Yeah. And an example of the blockchain that doesn't involve cryptocurrency, even though it's on the Ethereum platform, it's another use of it. Spanish taxi drivers. Tell us about those, Sarah.
Well, Spanish taxi drivers in Spain have been holding protests across the country against ride-hailing services like Uber. Kind of came to a head today, Monday. Cabs blocked access to major streets, including the Gran Via in Barcelona and Madrid's Catalana? Did they do the Y or the L? I'm not really sure.
Maybe.
Catalana, as well as airports and train stations. It was a big protest. If you've seen any of the photos, pretty major. The union is meeting with the government to attempt to resolve issues. A Spanish law limits ride-hailing licenses to 1 for every 30 taxi licenses, but cab drivers say this law is not being respected. There are way too many ride-hailing services on the road, say the cab drivers. So, union issue. I guess my first, and I don't know if everybody saw the photos, but my first reaction was, imagine if this happened in LA. Just imagine.
Well, yeah, and we've seen these protests in Paris. We've seen them in London. We've actually seen some in the United States in places. I think Vegas had a similar situation, not as extensive, right? But they've had it multiple times in Spain now. It feels like this is the kind of thing that's becoming rarer. In London, for instance, the cabbies were fairly settled. They'd mollified them until they reissued the license to Uber. Now they're starting to get upset again. So we might see something happen there. But it does show that not all is well on the front of ride hailing versus traditional cab service.
Yeah. So I have a kind of a strong opinion on this, I guess, or maybe it's controversial. When I saw this happening in different cities here, and especially like in New York, it's a really good example. That's taxi heaven. The push of Uber was a threat on their business and their comfort of, rudeness to they took customers for granted, right? This company comes in and then they protest because now they're shaking up the industry. So I am against protesting for that reason, because your job is being threatened if you weren't doing a good job. However, what has come of that is that now the cabs there have their own app. They, they're trying to compete with Uber. They tend to have been more friendly. They now all have credit card readers that work instead of you getting in there and they're demanding cash for you. So there's been a positive outcome. And I wonder, do people think this is a good thing? I understand the loss, of jobs, or if Uber's not following the law, if it's not supposed, if it's doing more drivers than the 30, 1 in every 30. I get that part, but I wonder, is this a good shakeup of an industry that needed to treat customers better in the first place?
Well, and it depends on the area. In London, cab service was very good. Not that there weren't improvements that can and have been made, I've taken a cab in Spain from the airport to Barcelona and back to the Gran Via, basically, and back, and it was fine. But I don't have enough experience with it to know if that's one that needed it. I'll tell you what, San Francisco absolutely needed it because there were too few medallions. You could not get a cab in certain parts of the city, and there was no movement to loosen it up until Uber and Lyft came along. So yeah, it just kind of depends on the region. Tech in Asia has a profile of a coffee shop in Shanghai called Ratio, where customers scan a barcode at the entrance. You don't talk to a person. You place your order on a kiosk, pay by mobile, and ordering allows the customers to customize the ratios of coffee, water, milk, etc. Hence the name of the company, of the cafe, Ratio. Then what makes it really interesting is a robotic arm makes the coffee. So you don't talk to someone to order, and a person isn't making your coffee. The robot's making the coffee, does all the grinding, all the mixing of the heating of the milk, whatever needs to be done, places it on a counter where a human waiter picks it up and delivers it to the customer. The part you think wouldn't even be needed. The robot also makes cocktails, if you're into that. The chain was founded by Gavin Pathros, who led the digital transformation of Yum China. They're the folks who do KFC, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and others. There's also a food court at Alibaba's Hema supermarket, which uses robots as waiters and chefs for many dishes. I thought it was interesting that this is an example of a cafe where they're like, yeah, we can replace everything with humans, so we'll still employ humans because that raises our level of service above other cafes, because then you can talk to them at leisure. They can do better service to bring you your coffee. You don't have to fight people for it at the counter, etc.
Yeah, it's that last mile, right? And you know, the whole service, you know, is automated, which I guess it can be, but yeah, that last human touch that we desperately want to hold on to. I think that's why they do that.
Well, I think a lot of folks are like, ratio of coffee, water, milk. I don't know, myself included. But I do know that I like to do it myself. So if I could figure out how the robot could get it precisely the same way every time, rather than what a barista might think is best for me, because I'm the only one who knows that, then yeah, and to be able to, I mean, quite frankly, probably churn through more folks because the humans can do all the other stuff at the same time. It's really cool. I'd like to have one of these coffees to see how I actually feel about it. But yeah, I mean, if you like regular old, not fancy coffee, one of these robots seems a little, over the top. But as people tend to, I don't know, respect the art of coffee more, or certainly coffee snobs, there's more and more of those kinds of places cropping up. It seems like it would be good for the assembly line overall.
Yeah, somebody who's picky knows and wants it done exactly a certain way, can get it that way, and also skip the lines. I mean, Starbucks already does this in the US. Starbucks is the 51% of the market share in China. That's what Ratio is going after. They want to take a piece of that away. But that kind of automation, in fact, Starbucks struck a deal today, I think it was with Alibaba, to provide delivery services, because delivery of coffee is a big deal in China right now as well. But anything that makes you not have to stand in line for 5 minutes or more to just order your coffee, you can do it on the app, and then not have to stand in line for 5 more minutes or more to wait for the coffee to be done. I'm all for that.
Me too. EA's Origin Access Premier is now live. The new PC game subscription service announced in an investor call last week will cost $14.99 a month or $99.99 a year. Subscribers will get access to EA's first-run titles 5 days before the release date, as well as an extra content, in-game currency, plus all the benefits of the basic Origin Access membership, which includes EA's 100-plus game library and 10% off Origin digital purchases. Upcoming games that will debut on the Premier include Madden NFL 19 Hall of Fame Edition, FIFA 19 Ultimate Edition, Battlefield 5 Deluxe Edition, and Anthem Legion of Dawn Edition. So this was, I believe, announced or teased at E3. So now, we have more information that this is out. They have a similar service on, well, not similar to this, but a service called EA Access that is on console, specifically the Xbox, where you get access to games early, but only as a trial. And so you get a weekend trial to see if you like it. And if you want to buy it, you get 10% off. And so this is a new thing, PC only. And I definitely see this subscription service is, I wouldn't say trying to go after the Xbox Game Pass, but Xbox has a service on console very similar to this. All of their first run titles that Xbox develops, and a lot of older games. You get about 100 of them for $99 a year or $9.99 a month. So this is a interesting market that we're in now of subscribing to games versus owning them. I'm of the camp of, yeah, I think subscription is great. I mean, think about $15 a month and you get access to 100 games and a couple first run ones that you would have to pay $60 each with. Now, as long as you play one a month, you to me, you're breaking even. So I think it's a good service. I hope it extends to console at some point. Subscription
services are the new hotness too. I mean, that is what every company is trying to get into. It's not just video. It's not just video games. It's clothing and other stuff too. So it's no surprise that we're going to see a lot of these. I'm curious how many of them can succeed. I'm curious if they will end up generally being from the game companies themselves, like this EA one. Although EA, I know, has some other game studios involved in EA Origin and Access and Access Premier, but it's mostly EA stuff. That's the big thing there, right?
Yeah. So I think it's a positive thing. I do worry about the oversubscription. Like, how many things are we going to end up subscribing to where we end up paying more than
we won't? We did if we just and that'll shake out the market. Not all of these things are going to survive.
Yep.
Someone is sending CDs full of malware to U.S. state officials, everybody. The Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center has issued a warning about the scam. The packages have a Chinese postmark with a somewhat rambling letter and a CD with a set of Word documents containing malicious Visual Basic scripts. State archives, state historical societies, and a State Department of Cultural Affairs official have all received letters.
This is interesting. So they're banking on, first of all, state governments in the U.S. Not having upgraded to the latest laptops, which is probably true. So they'll have CD drives, and then gambling that enough people who get these will be like, well, what's this? Let me stick it in my computer. Because to activate one of these malicious scripts, all you have to do is open the Word doc.
Yeah. Who has CD drive?
Well,
every person at the State Historical Society.
I have one in my car still.
Okay, well, I do too. Yeah,
I've got one in that machine over there, the Windows machine down there. I don't have one in any of the laptops that I use currently, except for the ThinkPad. I think my old ThinkPad, it's a couple of years old now, has a tray. But yeah, I mean, it's getting rarer, but it's not as rare as you think. Us here on the cutting edge might be like, what?
But okay, so you work for the government in some capacity. You get a CD in the mail. There's a Chinese stamp on it. There's a letter that is, rambling or whatever word you want to use. These are the sorts of things where you're like, I don't know what this is, but I'm not doing anything with it. But there are enough people, and this is, the whole idea of social engineering that they get fooled. Partly by curiosity, partly by confusion, I think.
Yeah, and it's DVD drives, not CD drives. We know that we're using the terms loosely. I know somebody's going to call us on that, but Amos in the chat room says we have new computers at his job at the USAF. They all have DVD drives.
Yeah. Even when I go to CES or those type of events where they give you like the little flash drive with the more information, I don't like putting those in my computers. I don't.
No, you shouldn't. Yeah. Because those can have viruses that auto-activate too, without even the company who gave it to you knowing.
Absolutely.
Right? It could have happened somewhere up the chain from them. So yeah. Folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, by golly, I invite you to subscribe to Daily Tech Headlines at dailytechheadlines.com. It'll save you time and make you smarter. Although Make Me Smart, entirely different thing from MarketWatch, which is great because it's got Molly Wood and Kai Rizdal on it. Hey. All right. Twitter announced it will work with professors from Leiden University to study how echo chambers form on the platform. Where people just start to amplify each other. Like, I think this is true. Yeah, I think it's true. And then it just takes off from there. And something I have been pounding my fist about for a long time, what effect they have. We know echo chambers exist. So they're going to talk about, well, how do they form? So maybe we can stop them from forming or at least discourage them. And what effect do they have? Maybe they're not worth stopping. We don't, they probably are, but let's find out what effect they have so we can try to figure out how to better deal with things. Among the things they're going to study will include the difference between incivility and intolerance. I found this very interesting. Mm-hmm. Past research, not the research they're about to conduct, but past research has shown that being uncivil can actually serve an important function. Like just making everyone say nice things is not good. You actually need incivility to advance discussions. It has its other negative side effects, but it can serve an important function, while intolerance is almost always counterproductive. Twitter also announced it will work with professors from Oxford and Amsterdam to study intergroup conflict, showing that conversations with positive sentiments and cooperative emotions and more complex thinking can reduce prejudice and improve relationships. Again, with the idea of how do we foster these things to make for a better experience. At the same time, a UK parliamentary committee put out a study about online disinformation, calling for urgent action to build resilience against misinformation and disinformation into our democratic system. The report recommends everything you can come up with off the top of your head to combat disinformation and misinformation is in this report. I'm not kidding you. Tax on social media, public education, both in schools and to the public in general, changes to election law, advertising law. Another report covering the inquiry's wider terms of reference with a closer look at advertising is going to follow. So they're not done with throwing every recommendation against the wall. And here in the United States, Senator Mark Warner actually published a white paper on Axios with proposals for fighting political misinformation, same sort of thing, protecting user privacy and promoting competition, 20 options in Senator Warner's white paper there. A few fewer, actually, than the UK one, but still hefty with options. So I wanted to talk about this because I don't know about you guys. You guys poke holes in my argument here, but I look at this and I think Twitter's doing the right thing in this case. Let's get people who actually study this sort of thing to ask the right questions so that we can then hopefully take what we learn and figure out how to make a better platform. Let's not just assume that, if we shut everyone up from saying not bad things, that'll help. Apparently it won't. Let's actually figure out how this is all working. Let's start to study it closer. And in this case, what's happening is these researchers are continuing their research just with the aid of Twitter. Whereas the UK and the US thing, and particularly the UK one, is just like, we think this is a problem, so let's do this, without really knowing whether it's going to help or not.
Yeah, I think this is a tough thing because you have news, right? News that's supposed to give you facts, and then you have commentary, which are people's opinions. I mean, this is a commentary show. So a lot of times the commentary is disguised as news, and that causes the emotional reactions, and that creates feelings of, well, I want to go into my echo chamber where I get the news I want to get, right? So I think there's nothing wrong with it if you still somehow are exposed to what you need to know. So I think this is good for Twitter. I look at something like, I was just debating this yesterday with myself, to talk to myself, using the Google News app versus the Apple News app. And it's just, they're pretty much the same. But what I like about both of them is that, yes, I could personalize the news the way I want, but they also kind of make it where you kind of have to see the top 5 things that are happening no matter what. So, I think those kind of things, and I'm not saying Google has it right. I'm not saying Apple has it exactly right, but those type of things start to break down, these echo chambers or these fake news or whatever you want to call it. And it's something being done. So I think Twitter jumping in on this is important because they are the source of the immediate news. And it's very important they figure out how to disseminate that right. Or I don't even know controlling the dissemination is even the right word, because there could be problems with that. Well,
I mean, at a certain point, you could just control the dissemination, right? It's trying to figure out, like, how do we have an open platform where people are allowed to just talk to each other that isn't open to obvious abuses?
Yeah, absolutely.
One of Mark Warner's options that he laid out, it's a fascinating read, and to me it seemed really well thought out and made a lot of good points, was the idea of giving a user, a Facebook user, a Twitter user, any social network user, some sort of a measurement of how valuable they are to data collection companies. So it's not about followers, right? Because we all think like, the more followers, the better this experience is. But for a for-profit company that is harvesting your information, how valuable are you to the companies that this company works with and is their bread and butter? And are you okay with that?
So a clout score for information.
Well,
data.
I guess I don't exactly know how it would be generated and then recorded and offered up to the users. But the idea that there are a lot of folks on social media who have kind of bought into this whole idea of, it's just information and friends and
Right.
we're all communicating together. And you've seen those Facebook commercials, they're very, very syrupy, but and that's fine. Well, it wouldn't be the first companies to do that. Twitter going on record and saying, hey, we need to figure out some stuff about the echo chamber. The echo chamber, in real life, we're all very familiar with the fact that people tend to hang out with other people that share their beliefs and their likes. And that's kind of the way it's always been, for better and worse. But when you have a platform that offers much more information at a much higher speed in real time and is kind of changing the whole landscape, you can't just say, well, that's how people are, because it has changed behaviors of humans all across the world.
I do think we overreact to that, though. I think Brexit and the 2016 presidential election caused enough people on particular sides of both those issues to be upset to start blaming what was truly an effect. I'm not denying that it was effect for the outcome in such a way that they say something must be done now without giving us the time to figure out, well, hold on, how much did it have an effect? What effect did it in fact have? And how do we make sure that that effect is mitigated against any kind of outcome, not just the one that you didn't like? And that's why this UK report, where it's like, well, let's ban micro-targeted political advertisements. Let's put the tech companies on the hook for liability. That's a popular thing to say right now. Like, make them be on the hook. May or may not fix any of the problems. It may just allow other avenues to open up, and it may not actually go after the thing that causes it. There's two things in both of these studies, Senator Warner's and the UK's, that I think are similar, and one of them's dangerous and one of them isn't. Both of them want to modify laws, in the US case, modify the CDA, Section 230, to make tech companies more liable for the speech of people on their platforms. I think that is likely to have unintended consequences that they don't want. But they think it's a short-term fix. The other thing that I think is great that both of them recommend is, let's spend some money on educating public about how this works. I am all for that. Let's also figure out how it works. But there are some things we know that are best practices that we can start to tell people about, like, hey, this might be a bot. Don't necessarily engage. Don't believe everything you read, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. You said it in your second point. Education will ultimately solve this, but we need to find out what the exact problem is, and get people to allow themselves to be educated. And everybody won't buy into it, but I think we're at a point now where in society where if things are explained to us in a rational way, I think the majority of us will.
The majority will. That's another thing to educate the public about. Everybody thinks, everyone but me is stupid and irrational, and nothing will work. Most of us are actually pretty rational, and
we're pretty good people.
We ain't dumb.
Yeah. Most of us, anyway.
Most, exactly.
No, but I mean, the whole idea of education is like, okay, well, when does that happen and where? Does it happen in school? Is there, a new class that kids need to go to?
Yeah, is it an element of the classroom? I think public information campaigns would be good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the UK lists out, some plans for, okay, certain companies are going to have to pay into some, public fund where we're going to further education. That's a good idea. Sounds good in theory to me too, but how is it going to be rolled out? That's the next question. Mm-hmm. Thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You submit stories like this and others, and we love you for it. Submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. If you want to hang out with us on Facebook, facebook.com/group/dailytechnewsshow.
All right. We get the emails and we love them. What do we got today?
Oh, man, we got a good one. Hutch wrote in with some clarification about how law enforcement uses facial recognition versus what the public thinks. And this is kind of piggybacking on our discussion last week about the ACLU running a test that incorrectly identified members of the U.S. Congress as people connected to mugshots, and it was incorrect. So Hutch says, as a law enforcement analyst, I've relied multiple times on facial recognition matches as investigative leads. But keep in mind, they're leads. They're not evidence, they're not proof, and they're never 100%. Facial recognition is just simply facial math. The technology we use can't take into account skin color or tones or gender or even hiccups like if somebody's wearing glasses versus another picture where that person is not. The subject images don't have to be used to completely be front-facing, but there are also limits to the angles off center that the technology cannot handle. While the operator can manually adjust points of interest on the nose or ears or forehead, etc., found in the subject image, it won't guarantee a perfect match. As a matter of fact, says Hutch, I've had an image of a white female produce a match to an African-American male because the math was close enough, according to the software. Hutch says, we have an in-house expert. He was trained in the FBI. He couldn't do matching of a subject to photos of booking photos. But the computer is not going to testify. Computer can't be used as evidence. Use of facial recognition is really no different than getting an anonymous tip. It can point you in a certain direction. It can help you eliminate some false leads, but it still requires evidence gathering prior to arrest and prosecution.
Thank you, Hutch.
Yeah,
that was very thorough.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, and the TLDR is if you're using facial recognition right, it's only one of many things you're using to go after a prosecution. And the fear is like, they're going to have a match to me and it's going to be a false positive, but then they're going to arrest me and throw me in jail. And what Hutch is saying is maybe that can happen, but not if they're doing the job right.
Exactly. And just a note about the story, because again, Hutch was responding to our ACLU test story. Amazon responded to that ACLU test showing its recognition software wrongly identifying those members of Congress. Amazon's general manager for deep learning and artificial intelligence, Matt Wood, said, the ACLU used the default setting, which is 80% confidence level. But Amazon says, hey, if you're law enforcement, you got to bump that up to 99%, or you're going to get a lot of false positives. In fact, the company says it tried to duplicate that test that the ACLU conducted involving the same portraits, but Amazon used a larger data set of faces for comparison and said, when we set the confidence threshold to 99%, and had a bigger pool, our misidentification rate dropped to 0, despite the fact that we're comparing against a larger pool overall.
So it bears out what Hutch says. Use it as a particular tool and use it right.
Yes. Yep. 99%.
We're not, and trust me, I'm not saying they all do, but that's what you should be holding their feet to the fire about.
Absolutely. Well, thanks to Lamarr Wilson for being with us this fine Monday. Lamarr, what has been going on with you since you were last with us?
Well, the audio people can't see this, but I'm holding a Funko Pop. I just completed Funko Weekend. Not sponsored on my channel. I wanted just to get back into collecting these little adorable things. And I normally do gaming stuff, but these are just adorable. Look at it; it's just so cute. So I did a weekend where I did Marvel, then DC. Actually, unboxed and taste tested the Funko cereal that just got released. So if you're into collecting, check that out. I did a series this weekend. Today's the final video on that series. And yeah, that's at youtube.com/Lamarr Wilson. Would be appreciated if you check it out.
Excellent.
Absolutely. Thanks to everybody who supports us on Patreon directly and gets all the perks that go along with membership at patreon.com/DTNS. You could be one of them right now if you're not already. And also check out our DTNS store. If you want to show support, spread the word about Daily Tech News Show. You can wear a hat or a hoodie or a shirt. We got some nice looking shirts in there. New DTNS mugs with a green interior available now at dailytechnewsshow.com/store.
Hey, if you've got feedback for us like Hutch, or a question, or any sort of comment at all, feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com is the email address to send it to. We're also live, and we'd love to have you join us Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC. Find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
Back tomorrow with Brian Brushwood. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
We're going to have the Brushwood Laughs live tomorrow.
Ooh, maybe we can get him to do it along with.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's him?
That's him, yeah.
I was wondering who that was. Okay.
It's Justin Robert Young saying the thing about Diamond.
Okay.
Brian
okay.
laughed.
That's okay. I was confused about that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good show, Lamarr.
That was great.
Are any of you all collectors of anything? I'm just curious.
Books.
Oh, pillows, blankets,
baseball cards.
toys?
I have,
Okay.
I have
Oh, you
a
still do?
nice collection of baseball
I
cards.
collect Transformers.
I didn't know that.
Me either.
Not a lot of people do because I don't really talk about it.
Roger is more than meets
The
the
first
eye.
time anybody asked me.
Oh, Tom.
No one's ever really asked me that. So
I don't think I do. Like, do I collect anything?
Transformers is awesome.
If you
man.
did, you'd know.
although I have to
Yeah,
be careful because with kids, you want to make sure that you don't spend too much on yourself. But
Yeah,
they're
oh,
always
it-
cool. I
it
only
can
I,
get-
go ahead.
No, I say it can get out of hand. That's all I was gonna say. Yeah.
It can. I used to collect comic books, and I have 400 pounds of dead trees in my garage.
Wow.
Now he collects dead trees, is what he's saying.
You know what? Digital comics are the best thing since sliced
He
bread.
goes to forests.
They really are.
They're
I mean,
really
that's how I feel
dead
about
oak.
digital music. I guess I used to collect music.
Did you have like a bunch of
Physical
CDs, like a
music?
wall of CDs and tapes? Because I
Oh,
know
yeah.
I did for a point. And I had, that was too much.
At one time, it was like the more you had, the better you were.
Well, that's how
Yeah.
how you were considered a true
Yeah,
enthusiast.
it's your status.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
I've fought the battle in one of keeping VHS tapes. I've mostly fought the battle in one of keeping DVDs and Blu-rays. We keep just the bare few that are hard to replace or just not available easily.
This is
online.
against Sawyer, right? Sawyer
Yes, obviously.
appreciates it. Yeah.
Honestly, when I say I fought the battle, I'm not talking about against anyone but myself, to be honest. Like my own, like just let go. But we still have all the CDs.
I have
Oh, wow.
I have so many DVDs. When DVDs were out and like a thing, I spent a lot of money on DVDs. I have like 800. I actually have more like 1,000 discs if you include each disc in a box set,
Yeah.
like in my garage. Because
That's still a thing, though. People still like that over digital. I mean, I get sent them from Disney, and I'm on Paramount's
I used to
mailer.
get the
Yeah.
I think I get the Universal Blu-rays, so I got a stack of those because he used to send me review copies, and I just have a lot of them. Like, and I watch them occasionally, but they're in the garage, so I really don't want to like make the trek. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
I mean,
50
it's sort of like if you do actually go into those boxes occasionally, then maybe it's worth it. But there's some collector stuff where it's like you don't touch it, you just have it. And that's where I'm like,
That's not
as
me.
a renter, I need closet space. Like it just like mentally, I can't get in that mode.
I'm the same way.
Play it. Like it's one thing. It's like, oh, don't touch these, but you have them in a nice display case, where people can look at
Sure,
them and you
that's
can look at
true.
them.
That's
That's
true.
okay, right?
Yeah. No, I would say, and it's probably because I've moved so many times over the years where you're just like, ugh, this
Well, you know
box
what?
of CDs is out of
That's
here.
my reason.
It's interesting you say that because I kept a lot of the stuff because I used to move around quite often. So that was what kind of anchored me to any one location. Was
What's your
like, oh,
stuff?
this is the stuff
Okay.
that I grew up with, or this is the stuff. So each thing was like, oh, this is from my college years. Oh, this is from my first job years. This is when I was slinging nacho chips and hot dogs at the Exploratorium. So they were all. I mean, Tom and I and you, Sarah, all know an individual we worked very closely with who has a very large collection of stuff. Of wide.
I mean, that could be like a lot of people we work with.
No.
I know who he means.
Remember, we used to work with him. He's been on the show like maybe once a month.
No need to narrow it further.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, but there's a wide variety of stuff. But he had things that would remind him of different times and places in his life as he was growing up, and that's why he kept
I'm
it.
offended and I feel left out. But that's
He's
okay.
right here. He's right here, Roger.
It's Lamarr. He worked with us. You just don't remember. Well, but the nostalgia factor is strong. I mean, there are not necessarily, DVDs or whatever, but there'll be like a purse or some item that I've had for a long time.
An empty cologne bottle, for instance.
Yeah, something that's of no use. It doesn't matter to anyone but me, but somehow it's like a security blanket. I don't want to get rid of it, and I don't know why. But we all have that stuff.
Oh yeah, I have a whole shelf of it right here.
I've been in
Sarah,
your studio, Tom.
I mean, Sarah, is that like a set behind you, or is that your kind of collection of little different things? You have like books and things. No, it's been like.
Do you like my new
really
unicorn?
nice.
The unicorn arrived on Friday because I have lots of stuffed animals, even though
I've
Don't
known
know
people
why
who
or where
I
they
think it's
came
a great
from.
set. Yeah.
who collected photos. Like they literally have an entire wall of photo albums of every photo they've ever taken of
Wow.
like with them in it. You know, because that's how they that's
Mhm.
how they want to remember things. Like some people collect memorabilia because hey, like, whoa, Return of the Jedi, this is the last Star Wars ever. Better, get all the
I will
Yeah.
stop myself from getting rid of something where like I don't really need this, I don't really like it, and then I'll be like, oh, but it reminds me of that time, right?
Yeah.
I still have an old zip drive because that was like the first thing I bought in college that
Yeah.
I paid for with like money I got from like my job at the Olive Garden.
See, I moved different states, and because of that, I had to become a minimalist. I don't have really
I
anything
moved
from
different
my
states
from
too
my past.
twice. And I
Yeah,
still
so you
dragged all this crap with me.
did you?
Alright.
Yeah, I got to a point where I mean, like
You're
my
a better
collection,
man
my
than I
collecting
am,
is
Lamar.
new. Yeah, I'm
I'm
just
a nostalgic hoarder.
I am really
Minimalized.
impressed with what are the sneakerheads, the guys who collect sneakers and shoes.
Oh man, they are crazy.
But I have seen some very elaborate like closet storage spaces that are like
Mhm.
really intricate. That's really cool. But it's also like, whoa, you're like half your house is dedicated to like footwear.
I made a joke on my channel one time, and I got heat for that because I didn't know. Like I said, I made it. I was like, oh please, guys don't collect shoes, and I just moved on because I had no idea that. Oh boy,
There are
did
like
I learn
social networks built around sneakerhead
did I learn
communities.
quickly in the comments that was I wasn't being like sexist or anything. I was just like, oh guys don't collect sneakers.
Right.
And yeah,
Because you
they
thought
let
it
me know
was
they
true.
do. Yeah. I have one pair. I don't
I wear
don't
what do
know.
I wear? I wear Adidas Sambas because they're the only shoes that come out of the box that fit my feet.
I
That, like,
I
I don't
have
have to
a
wear it.
very old pair of Nikes I wear to the gym that I've been told should be upgraded because not only that they're probably giving me shin splints, but also that they're really old looking. And I'm like, excuse you, they work. They're
There's
shoes.
something
They're
about
just
collecting though
fine.
that
They're
like
fine.
that triggers the hoarding aspect of the human brain. Like whether it's nuts or foods or something, but like I see it the same look in people's eyes that collect like little, Lego minifigs and stuff, and they have like a huge
Mhm.
wall of it. But the same people who like, collect like I don't know, like if they go extreme couponing or something, they have just an entire like one half of the garage dedicated to like storing Pringles for the apocalypse.
Ooh, I want to go to that garage. That sounds delicious.
That sounds like a delicious garage.
That's a very nutrition poor garage.
Sure.
Besides potatoes, I thought you had a thing against potatoes.
I don't like potatoes.
Well,
Oh,
Tom doesn't
that
like
I was
potatoes.
here for that conversation.
I mean, I'm not like against them, but as
Yeah,
a
I'm not.
person,
I don't have a
I just
thing
don't.
against potatoes.
If someone is like
This is
fries or
what's
salad,
happening to our
I will do a
society.
salad.
We're oversimplifying and causing problems. I never said I have anything against potatoes.
Wait,
Are
is
you
Tom-
anti-potato
is
too, Tom?
Is Tom being uncivil or
I
intolerant?
said-
Tom is speaking for me.
I said we took the action to create the internet. I didn't say I created the internet. No, I've been trying. Roger's right. I'm trying to avoid eating potatoes because I feel like they're empty calories.
Yeah. And I just don't think they're very good.
I also love hash browns. That's my I generally don't like fries, but I love hash browns.
are really good.
Hash browns, if they're cooked in the right way, where there's enough burn and you put a lot of hot sauce on it, and then you have like an fried egg that kind of gets in there. So that I can do.
It has to be a runny egg too. I can't.
But
you
it
can't
has
just-
to it has to be a runny egg.
What-
Yeah, because
what
then
do
it
Is
the
Lamarr
problem I have
okay?
with potatoes is
We want to have
they're
Lamar
dry.
back. Be careful.
What happened?
I don't know.
Look, I eat eggs almost daily. I cannot stand the yolk. It has to be hard fried.
You're
I can.
you're from the Midwest, isn't that like?
What does that have to do with it?
Isn't that like a thing?
It's a
Like,
personal
Eggs are
preference.
different over there.
It's
What,
a personal
runny egg?
preference. Yeah.
Runny
like
eggs
that's
is not a
the-
Midwestern thing, Roger.
No.
Runny versus solid versus egg
Runny
whites
is
versus
what those
yolks.
Europeans do with their eggs.
I thought they put them in that little egg holder. And they tapped it with the spoon and.
No,
cracked open.
that's not a Midwestern thing. That's
That's
a
a weird
snooty
thing.
East Coaster thing.
That very much sounds like East Coast. If anything.
Yeah,
Runny
sounds
eggs
like
are so-
maybe some people in downtown Chicago might, but
Yeah, I saw one of those
Not on the
TV
West
shows.
Side.
That were like, having pizza, and it was a pizza that they crack a runny egg, a few of them on, and they put them in the oven, the quick oven, and they take. I'm like, no.
Oh,
no,
I'm
God,
like,
no.
oh yes.
Oh, Sarah, I wouldn't.
Brunch with an egg pizza is a great brunch.
You want to do DTNS fixes the internet, or Where in the World Are the Australian Almonds, or subscription services the new black?
I was going with We Fix the Internet rather than repeating, because DTNS is already the headline, but the episode number.
We fix the internet.
Yeah. What do you think?
I love it.
Love it.
I love the country.
Back to the eggs.
I don't know. Lamarr, I'm like you. I eat probably 2 eggs every day of my life. Sometimes.
Wow.
I know.
Oh yeah.
I love eggs.
I eat more now because of the strict thing I talked about. I won't get into details now because I don't want to be. Oh, that's what Lamarr does. But yeah, I'm on his.
But I also don't. I'm not opposed to a runny yolk. And when it comes to hash browns, you kind of need it because the hash browns are dry.
Yeah, and you need the runny egg, and it's good.
It's wonderful.
I do love corned beef hash.
And of the runny egg, in many scenarios, don't want runny egg on my hash browns.
I
don't know you, Tom. Who are you?
It's like I'm just disappointed in everybody.
Well, Mrs. Potato Not Head, I'm disappointed in you too.
Well, that's all right. You have my fries.
Oh, you do eat fries?
No, you can have them because I will have salad in place of the fries.
If we go to Five Guys, I'll eat your fries. Okay.
Yeah, like ordering French fries is like something I've never done.
I will drink your milkshake.
It has to be a good milkshake though. Like most milkshakes are kind of.
Even I prefer. Chocolate to vanilla, but also the what's
soft
the not soft serve. What's the chocolate that's like? No, not fake. It's like
Nutella.
No, hold on. I can't think of the word.
I would rather get onion rings than fries, but very few places serve onion rings.
Carl's Jr. does.
Yeah,
White Castle does.
Chocolate malts.
Oh, go to Mel's.
Over the
Mel's has the best malt to me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Mel's Diner. It's really good.
It depends on which Mel's. Like I find the quality can differ.
Is it only 2, or is there more than?
Oh no, there's
a bunch up in San Francisco too.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, video folks, thanks for watching. Hope you have a lovely Monday. We'll see you again tomorrow. Audio folks, stick around. We'll make you hungrier with more.
Right.